most recently on night school at Vesperale Academy. Illyria and Igor are now adventuring away from the castle. It has provided a safe haven for us for a few months now, and as we further and further venture from this place that we've called home, the first place we've really called home in perhaps a couple of years, we now find ourselves deep in the forest, moving west. Now following a massive direwolf. Chu's gang has been on a mission. We followed this mission, and it sounds like Chu's intent is to get some revenge on the people that caused her pack to become refugees, to have to go back to the castle and receive the medical attention there that they've been getting. Someone was responsible for this, and Chu aims to get to the bottom of it and get revenge for it. Illyria is learning more and more what it means to be not just a werewolf, but an eternal hunger werewolf. A werewolf that is seized with these deep, deep instincts that insist that Illyria feeds, Illyria hunts. These urges only get stronger. These instincts swell as we move away from the castle into the forest and come upon a being that is of deepest importance to the Pack of the Eternal Hunger. Ravenu. Deep Den Mother, the Moon's own daughter, hunger itself. A massive direwolf, and well regarded as kind of the original Eternal Hunger. The first being that the moon blessed, and also the first one to pass on a bite to a person that would eventually become the first lycan of the Eternal Hunger. It's a religious experience being so close to it for Chu and the gang, and we find ourselves with this wounded beast. Still strong, and yet Chu has got the idea, maybe we want to try and pull some of these arrows out of this thing. With shaky hands, Illyria pulls the first arrow from Ravenu's back. Ravenu snuffs and otherwise stays still and silent. An enormous beast. Stories tall, the size of a small ship, with feet the size of ale barrels, standing still. Ravenu lies down on the forest floor and allows Illyria and Chu and some of the other members of Chu's pack to try and administer to the wounds. They seem a little older. There are a few bolts with runes on them that Illyria distastefully adds to Chu's pile of rune weapons. These Luca Brusca weapons with their dawn runes on them. There are newer ones as well. Arrows and scorch marks, it seems, from perhaps a skirmish down by the River Argent, closer to school. And finally, although we can't do much about it, there are bruises and splinters from this encounter with the elf inside the tree. Let's see just how well we're able to do here getting this thing out. Now, these wounds, they've been made by some severe weaponry. Fortunately, the wounds themselves do not appear to have penetrated deep. A 1 versus a 1. That is a partial success. Illyria does their best. Dragging their fingers through the matted fur on the back of Ravenu, Illyria says, "These wounds are deep. Some of them. Most of them did not get far, and I don't know. I feel better than I did before. I feel rejuvenated just being in her presence, but can she do the same for herself? Will these wounds go away?" Chu sort of snaps out of it in an absolute reverie just from being so close to Ravenu. Ravenu's tail wags a slow arc. This tree trunk of a tail drags through the brush on the floor of the forest here, and Chu is just watching it swish back and forth, this massive tail on this holy being. What? I don't know either. It's possible. I've heard that in the presence of the pack, we all heal faster. It sort of rings true back at home. I can't say at school we've ever endured something like this, so I don't know. All right, well, I'm going to do what I can. I've been a bit distracted, and so I have not been able to collect quite as many supplies as I would like for something like this. I'll do what I can. And throwing a few herbs and roots into their mouth, Illyria chomps away at this this mash of stuff, and then combining it with a little bit of river mud, pastes it over the wounds of Ravenu. Ravenu makes that dog sort of sigh and seems to feel a little bit better. Ravenu stands and paces back and forth, looking back toward us and sitting for a moment, chuffs at us once and starts to walk quietly and casually into the forest, heading west. Oh, we're on the move already. All right, pack. Steel, can you move? My ribs. I don't know. I still feel like a mess. Let me see what I can do for you. This, I think, is going to be a fairly simple one, but Steel is definitely not in great shape. And yet, as Illyria approaches to try and administer to his wounds, he sort of stands, cracks his neck a little bit, and says, "Oh, you know what? I feel all right. Being around the beast, there's nothing like it." Nothing like it at all. Now, we're still short one Monty. I haven't seen him. Any of you seen him? The rest of the pack, Bobby shakes his head. Monty has not yet made an appearance. Chu has been marking the way for him, such that he might rejoin the group, but he was one of the people who was seized by his hunger and ran off into the forest. You know what? For Chu's sake, let's go ahead. I'm going to make a luck check here. I'm going to say that this is unlikely, which means it's not very unlikely, which means I would flip 3. I'm going to flip 2 because this is unlikely that he has rejoined us yet. Or that he is sort of like immediately on our trail, about to join us. It's unlikely that he's joined us yet, and so if either one of these flips up tails, unfortunately, he has not joined us yet. I'm not sure I feel right about moving off until we're at full capacity. I don't want to let Ravenel get away. I want to see what she wants to show us. Huh? What? Crashing through the forest, something that, boy, by the standards that we've now become accustomed to with this ship-sized wolf in the woods, suddenly it doesn't seem so big, but a tumbling, slightly clumsy, and we can see why, Monty strolls into this clearing that we've made our momentary camp. His face is absolutely covered with blue and purple juices of whatever berry patch that he found himself in. And as Ravenel walks away into the forest, he enters this little clearing just as Ravenel leaves and says, You left. I got real hungry, but I was coming back, and when I got back to camp, it was empty. I saw the hunt marks. What happened? Looking around at this place here, we can still hear the massive crashes and crunches off in the forest of this beast moving through. And Monty stops, holds stock still for a second, and says, I didn't miss it, right? Tell me I didn't miss it. Well, you should have stayed with the pack, shouldn't you? No, come on, hunger was here, did we? Look, we're gonna follow, alright? You didn't miss your chance entirely, but you have got to stay with the pack. Everybody! And the pack circles up into kind of a huddle. I know you're hungry. I know you're absolutely ravenous. We're gonna get ours, alright? Ravenel is here. Ravenel has always had us follow our stomachs to rich hunting grounds. Places where we can eat our fill. Alright, and Ravenel's here. So you and me, all of us here, we're going to eat just fine, but we've got to follow. Now, there's one bit that I'm not sure about, and it's this. And Chu kicks the roots of a tree that is standing nearby. Monty looks absolutely confused, but the rest of us know precisely what the issue is. This tree was, up until about 30 minutes ago, moving around, its roots stomping around like so many legs, a sort of tank made out of a living tree, and inside, sealed up all but for a very small hole, is an elf. An elf that chanted to control it and is currently unconscious, sitting inside the little cockpit inside this tree. Well, I mean, we could burn him out. I don't know. I don't feel good about burning this tree. I don't know if it's
somehow more alive than any of the other trees around here, but it doesn't feel right.
Illyria says,
And also, it's green wood. It's not going to burn very well. Just make a lot of smoke. Well, smoke might do the trick. Although, I'd hate to find that we smoke him out, but he doesn't wake up. Then he'll just die of smoke inside a tree. I don't know how else we can get at him. We could try using the saw. I'm sure we've got something in the packs that we could use.
and indeed, Illyria, Bobby, and Steele all are carrying packs. It's a grab bag, so if you want something to be in there and it makes sense that it would be in there, it's in there. We just check off one use of the pack, and we've got what we need. Using the old Dungeon World system, because I love that system.
Well, I can think of one person who might be pretty handy at getting inside something where there's no windows and doors. Igor, do you think you can get in there and find out a little bit more about our friend here?
Alright, I'm up for it.
Alright, fantastic. Now, I'll tell you what. I don't know if I want him fully awake, but if he does, we got to be ready for him. Okay? Now, Illyria, I think you might be the best bet with that spear of yours. Just pop it inside this hole here. There's a little knot in the tree, you see? This where my arm was wedged through. Yeah, so you can get access there, but Eagle, are you going to be able to get information out of him without bringing him fully back? I'm nervous that if you wake him up completely, he's just going to start chanting again, and we're going to find ourselves right back at it with this tree beating us to pieces.
The noise of Ravenu's departure has stopped a little bit, and if we squint deep into the forest nearby, we can see that Ravenu is currently sniffing around at trees kind of casually, just sort of waiting. It doesn't look like Ravenu is on the scent of anything in particular right now, just waiting. Igor moves slowly into the tree, just entering into the middle of the trunk. Ooh. Igor, as you come up against this tree, you find yourself with a little bit of pushback. Igor, you run your hands up and down the bark here, and strangely your own skin actually appears as bark itself, because of the disguising clay that you found on that Luca Brusca spy that was at the school. You now look like some sort of weird Orif Barcerand / tree creature. A little bit, you could see the melted face of Orif Barcerand that sort of melts off of your own face down your neck onto your chest. But it's barely visible as a face anymore. It mostly just looks like tree bark. It has been a barely sufficient covering from the sun thus far. That cold, icy feeling that you get from the sunshine is diminished somewhat, but you still certainly feel distracted. But that's not what this is. As you run your hands along the bark of this tree, you feel a resistance. This isn't just any tree. If it were, you could probably move through it reasonably fine. You certainly find it very easy to move through stone. This is something a little different. This tree seems to be protected, which, as Illyria mounts the side of this tree and thrusts their spear in so that it rests just in front of this elf inside the tree. Well, we know this isn't just a normal tree. There are some protections on it. Igor, unfortunately, you cannot pierce these protections. I flipped 2 coins. They both came up tails. And unfortunately, Igor, I flipped 2 coins because you've got 2 energy in your ghost facet. And yet only one of them came up heads. So you can't beat or even meet 2 tails. So, for those of you who want to know more about how Silver Bullet works, we have got some documents over in Discord for that in the general RPG chat. But suffice to say, right now, basically, I flip some coins to see how challenging something is. And then I flip to see how well you are able to rise to the challenge. But Igor, you start to reach your hand through, and you feel it stop deep inside the wood of this tree. The tree itself seems very strangely quite healthy. It shouldn't be for what it's being put through here, and of course it's definitely missing branches, and there are drips of sap sort of splashing down onto the tree branches nearby you occasionally from the fight with Revenue and the rest of this pack, but the tree seems vital. In fact, with a very low, quiet creaking, the tree seems to be mending.
Igor, what's the matter? You alright?
Igor, you're not able to penetrate this tree trunk. Do you have anything else that you would like to try here? You can either try the same thing, if you can think of something, some object or some technique that would change your situation, or you can try something totally different. Go ahead and let me know, Igor. Illyria sort of pokes forward with the spear and says,
I don't know, maybe I should just prod him awake? No, don't do that. I don't want these tree branches coming back to life. If I hear him chanting, that's bad news for all of us.
Igor moves around and explores this tree. Igor ducks underneath the roots that are now thrust deep into the ground, but there is still a tiny little crawl spaces wherein you can get underneath and take a look. Nothing under there. Illyria climbs up higher into the branches and examines from up above and says,
I don't see anything else up here. I think that it seems this elf had pretty incredible control over this tree. I wonder if it's an elf at all. Either that, or perhaps the elf can cause some sort of opening to form in the tree, like a door? Or a hatch or something? This might be bad news. We might have to wake him up. Alright, well, I don't like it, but yeah, that might be the only option.
Alright, pack. Closing around this tree here. I know it didn't seem like we were doing much for it before, but everybody climb up on top. Maybe we can try to weigh it down a little bit. All I can say is, Illyria, you better be quick with that spear.
I am. Alright. I don't want to miss Revenue. We have to wake him up.
the pack slowly climbs up onto the roots of this tree, up into the branches, getting ready in case it starts to come to life again. And Illyria slowly reaches this spear in. This shaft brought by the underbrush with eels carved into it, and set with a spearhead that is actually a long tap spile. This spile slowly slides in through the hole in the tree, and nudging the elf's chin, Illyria tries to wake him up.
What?
He coughs from where Chu had him by the neck. He reaches up and feels his head, still in a daze, not necessarily looking like he realizes where he is. And as he reaches his hand up and feels around in his head for why he's in such pain. He bumps the spear and freezes. What's this then?
This is a negotiation.
Illyria moves so that they won't be visible from inside the tree and just looks at Chu and shakes their head, shrugging. Chu says,
Yeah, this is a negotiation with whoever or whatever you are. I want to know, why is your fighting hunger itself? What are you doing here?
the elf smiles and says, hunger? Eternal hunger? I didn't think we would find more lycan down here. Illyria mouths to Chu, down here? And Chu gets a bit of a grim look on her face.
Where do you come from?
I come from up north. There was a scent in the air. A scent that Chu certainly picked up. This tree smells of lycan.
What are you?
Look, I don't know how this ends, but I can see you haven't made your way into my little fortress here. So, I don't need to answer any questions that you may ask. And Illyria pokes in with this spile once more, just poking it against his chest, and he falls silent for a moment. Sander, yeah, the opening for the spile, that was the same one that's been there, but yeah, no entrances or exits into the tree. Just this little knot, the one that Chu had her arm reach through. That one is still there. So yeah, you've certainly got an opportunity if you want to try and figure out something to work with there. I don't have to share anything with you. You might have this to my throat, but, well, I'm not far off from just shucking you off this thing and making a run for it. I can't feel Ravenue anywhere nearby.
You know Ravenue?
Of course I do. And we're gonna make some flips here. Illyria, Illyria's only going to be able to flip with one, but you know, just being a werewolf, understanding this world a little bit, we'll see what we can do. That is tails, unfortunately, so these are both going to have to come up heads, and they've both come up tails. Illyria can't make anything out of this. Illyria just shakes their head at Chu. Go ahead and let Chu flip, however. It's against a 2. Which is not great, but Illyria's Chu is flipping with 4, and unfortunately, only flips 1 heads. Dang it!
This is going to go a lot better for you if you just give us some information. I don't have any real inclination to hurt you. I can tell you that much right now.
Oh yeah? Is that why you won't even show yourself?
Well, that's no fault of mine. You're the one who gave yourself a tiny little window to look through.
Hogwarts hippie says, wait, he said any more like it down here. We need more info. Yeah, Igor, do you have any questions that you want to ask? And Sandra says, maybe we can make the hole bigger in some way. Definitely possible. I'm going to have to go ahead and ask you how it is you would like to do so. You absolutely have things at your disposal, but I want to know how you want to try and accomplish this. It's a solid goal. Alright, let's start with something simple, yeah? Let's start with something like names, shall we? Who are you? What are your names? I don't need to know where you come from or where you're going, let's just start with names. Chu looks suspiciously at the tree, not being able to see the person she's conversing with, and says, I'm Chu. Chu. Alright, Chu. Any of the rest of you want to...
Illyria.
Illyria. Alright. Igor starts to search through the pack on Illyria's back. It rattles around very slightly, and Illyria, like, turns back and with a questioning look. But Igor, you reach into the pack and you find a long metal bar. It looks like potentially something used to drive wedges into wood. You don't know much about timberjacking equipment, but you can see that there is a kind of a dull point on one end, a dull sort of wedge shape, and the rest of it seems like it could make a pretty good pry bar. You hold this up to Illyria, and Chu says,
Hi, Monty. Come up here.
Monty starts to lumber up the tree, and in spite of his size and his apparent sort of clumsiness, he's an excellent climber, and suddenly shimmies up right next to Illyria.
Monty, go ahead and crack this jar, yeah?
Monty nods, grabs this pry bar, and as we continue this conversation, starts to pry away at the opening in this tree. This does give our negotiator inside a bit of pause, and we hear a rumbling in his throat. But Illyria, suddenly in a panic with a wild look in their eye, presses this spile closer in, just above the collarbone, and says,
Don't do that. Stop. Don't.
All right. Listen. My name's Walder. W-A-L-D-E-R. My name's Walder. And I don't think that we need to have a quarrel here. Alright, you just let me go. I'll go back where I came from.
Why was Ravenu chasing you?
Ravenu. I can't say that we get along too well with any of you.
We? Who's we, and why don't you get along with us?
And Chu suddenly realizes.
You're from up north, aren't you?
I am.
And you're lycan, aren't you?
Why would you say that? I'm an elf. I'm inside the...
No, you're lycan. I could smell it on you. You come out of that tree, get to the right phases of the moons, and you're going to be turning into something that... I smell... bird.
He stays very quiet, and it starts to dawn on Illyria as well.
You're You're from the north. You're from that other pack, the Wild Guardians.
He stays silent, but from the look in his eye, we can see we've guessed correct. Chu is suddenly angry and starts to help Monty pull on this pry bar.
Yeah, I should have figured. Right when we got just enough trouble with Luca Brusca hunting us through the forest and the vampires coming up from the south, you from up in the north, you who should be our allies, you decide you're going to tumble down here and start tangling with our most holy being. What is it that you thought you could do to Ravenel? You think you can match the strength of a creature like her? Not a chance. Now you're in our territory.
Are you alone? What did you mean when you said that you didn't think you'd find anyone like Ravenel down here?
All right. I'm going to make another quick progress check here. I'm going to say that overall, this is the sort of thing where I'm going to call it kind of a progress clock. I'm going to go ahead and flip 3 coins here. All right. And they've all come up tails. That means that you're going to have multiple turns worth of effort to try and match this number. Or to try and achieve this number over time. So, because it's not us working on it, I'm gonna give Chu. I'm gonna give Monty plus Chu some help. I think it's gonna total out to be 4 because I think Chu is level 4, whereas the rest of the gang is all gonna be level 3. But for Monty, he's a big, strong bear boy, and he's getting help from Chu, so that's gonna be a total of 4. Let's see how we do here. Wow. Y'all, I just flipped... so I flipped the original 3, and then I flipped an additional 4. All of them are tails. The odds of that are very, very narrow. Inside this tree trunk, this elf's eyes go steely, and he grabs onto the shaft of this spear, and it takes a lot for Illyria to be able to maintain this. And Illyria presses it in deeper to the point where it's now sort of pressed against his skin. Not broken the skin yet, but definitely making a little dent there. It's gonna leave a welt as Chu and Monty do their absolute best to try and pry this hole open, but the wood is thick, and although this pry bar is definitely doing some work here, unfortunately it would seem that it's not happening. And actually, you know what, I'm gonna give you an extra coin here because you've got this pry bar. Oh my god, another tails. This is incredible. I think over the course of 8 tails, not flipping a single heads, we're now in the 0.5% territory. This is less likely than rolling a 1 on a D100. This is nuts. Oh my god. Yeah, the pry bar's not helping. So you still only have to beat the 3, and we're gonna have multiple turns to do this, but still, that is absolutely wild. The elf inside says, we should be allies. We should. But you can't keep your teeth shut, can you? Chu works all the more fiercely against this pry bar and says,
No, don't you try to turn this around. We got enemies, alright? Yeah, we got to eat down here in our pack, but that doesn't change the fact that we've got enemies, and we keep you safe. Alright? You think that you got your grove up there in the north, that you got, you protect it all yourselves? No. All you have to protect it from is the ones that slip through our front lines. Vampires, expeditioneers, the ones that brave this territory, they're the ones that make it through. Alright, they're the ones that best us. You might notice that's a pretty small number, so if anything, we're already doing your job for you, aren't we?
This moment has gotten pretty tense here as the elf struggles, and looking Illyria directly in the eye, he says, Yeah. Seems like we're on the same side, doesn't it? That's what this feels like. Illyria and this elf are going to face off here. Now, folks, Illyria is going to have... I mean, he has just been sort of knocked out. This is not how he fights best, like 1-to-1. He's got other ways to fight here, and he can't do that right now. So, we've got decent news. Here's how this is going to work. We're going to kind of go back and forth here. He has got some control over this. As long as Illyria can at the very least match, then we stay in a stalemate. If Illyria wins, they're going to be able to maybe wrestle this spear out of his control and sort of reset the tensions inside the log. But if he wins, he may be able to sort of, I don't know, push this spear back out or something like that. We're going to make our first check with Illyria, and then we're going to go to Igor, and then we're going to go back and see if they can make any progress on opening up this hole. All right, so, sorry, I have to separate these. This one is okay. Suddenly, he jerks his hands off to one side, and Illyria manages just barely to pry against the side of this. There's a clang as the spear hits the pry bar, and everyone leans into whatever they're doing. The elf leans in, trying to wrestle this thing away from his neck and just, you know, move it over his shoulder so it won't be a threat anymore. Illyria is wrestling against the other side of this same spear to try and keep it on target, and Chu and Monty are wrestling against this pry bar. Illyria manages to wedge against the side of this and keep this spear on this elf. And he says, "This is why we won't be allies. Not now. Not until you can get a hold of yourselves. You're violent. Can't have anything to do with you. You can't keep control of yourselves. Look at your face." And Monty sheepishly ducks away from the little hole in the side of the tree here. Meanwhile, Igor's going to try and transform into, I guess mist would maybe be the right word, and go inside the tiny hole in that way. Okay, let's see how this works. Now, Igor, the sun is shining. You are currently covered up, but as I mentioned before, this may be more difficult if you are, you know, to sort of keep this on you, and let's see how this goes. So I'm going to add some difficulty to this. Normal circumstances, I would call this a 2. I'm going to call this a challenge of 2. But if you want to do this and keep your covering, keep your protection here, I'm going to add another 2. Let's see. Hold on. Okay, and you're only gonna be able to flip 2. I'm actually gonna call this 3 instead of a 4 total for challenge. So, okay, you've got to meet or beat 2. You can only meet it. This is tough. If you were doing this at nighttime, you wouldn't have to worry about maintaining your covering, and so this wouldn't be quite as much of an issue. But here we go. You had to beat 2. You only got 1 heads. Igor, you start to melt a bit. And as you are melting toward this hole in the trunk, you feel that the moment that you sort of melt into mist, this covering sloughs off of you, and you get a strong urge to just be out of the sunlight. It is piercingly cold, like suddenly, you know, leaving your house on a frigid, frozen day. It's painful. It doesn't hurt you immediately, but it is painful. And so, I mean, because you are not even able to meet it, I'm going to give you a tough choice here. Are you going to Are you going to sort of give up misting for the day? Sort of give up this ability that you have. Not all ghost stuff, just simply the ability to like change into a mist and basically anything that will break down your incorporeal form. Anything that will break you down into something less material. Either give that up for the rest of the day until the night comes back around and you'll have a chance to rest up, or you're going to have to give up your covering right now. Okay. Igor, you find yourself, just the parts of you that dissolve into mist suddenly feel like they are not only icy cold, but it's hard to reform. You feel the sunlight beating down on you in this frigid, icy stare of the sun, and you have to do everything that you can to hold yourself together, to keep yourself from receding back into that cave. That feeling that you get when you are a little less material, a little less present in the mortal world, when you recede. That feeling gets stronger, and to avoid it, you have to rush up to the front of the cave and solidly place yourself in the material world. It takes a lot of focus to do this, and trying to release that focus in order to, turn into a mist or travel through a wall, that is going to be potentially very harmful for you. Until the night comes back around, you've got a chance to rest. Other parts of your, ghastly form, the ability to fly, the ability to, work with auras and stuff, those are still very much present. But anything that would require you to diminish your corporeal form, that stuff is going to be off the table for the rest of the day. But you are still protected from the sun. You manage to maintain your covering. You only turn a little bit into mist and quickly snap back, and you hide your fingertips that are now sort of exposed to this frigid stare of the sun. Y'all, we've had some really terrible flips today. Like I said, 0.5% chance, I want to say, of eight coin flips all turning up tails. Okay. All right. Let's keep going around the horn here. They are flipping with 5 coins here between Monty and the help that Monty is getting and this pry bar that you found. Okay, here we go. All right, we got 2 heads against the 3 on our sort of progress clock thing. So we've made 2 out of the 3 progress. Chu and Monty heave backward and looking pretty abashed at himself for having given in, his face covered with berry juices and having been called out by this elf inside. Monty grimaces and pulls back, and we hear a creaking and a snapping from inside this tree. This is what you do. You destroy. You eat and you consume and you destroy. This is why we're not on the same side.
Hey, Walder. This could be a lot easier if we knew why you were coming down south here. You're supposed to be up north at some magical secret hideout. No wolves allowed.
We've got wolves in our pack. Ones that can control themselves.
Stop it. Hey, stop. We're gonna get a lot further if we can just... We've got so many enemies. I don't know how Chu or the Eternal Hunger or any of you can afford to keep doing this.
Illyria relaxes ever so slightly. You know what? No. Illyria thinks for just a moment about removing the spear in an attempt to sort of get a better odds at negotiation, but Illyria is trying to sort of follow orders from Chu right now, and as such is going to keep him on here, keep this spear on here.
You tell us where you came from, and you tell us why you're here.
You've already guessed where I came from. think Illyria's gonna get 1 for basic effort. This better come up heads. Nope. You already know where I came from. As far as why I'm here. Well, same reason you are. Same reason you venture north. Same reason that all of you find yourselves in dwarf forests, killing everything that moves, eating whatever smells like food.
You're here to expand.
Is that why? Is that why you moved north? To expand? I knew it. No. No, we're here because our instincts tell us it's important to be here.
Well, yes, of course it is. But we should be side by side, not at root point and spear point.
I haven't got you at root.
No, but I know what you will do if I remove this spear. I heard your weird throat singing coming back already.
1 versus 2. Ooh, it's tails. All right, he starts to try and push this back away from himself, and gang. He pushes this spear back away from his throat, and Illyria is caught off guard. Illyria was considering for just a moment trying to release this threat, try and gain a leg up in the conversation. It was just enough that now he's pushing this back away from him, and chew, 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 Illyria shouts as the spear suddenly sinks deep into the tree with a thunk, and for a moment eyes go wide, but Illyria says, Nope, he's all right. He's just fine. And inside the tree, we start to hear the roots of this tree start to creak, and the branches up above start to move around. We've got 1 more chance. We need 1 head, and we do it. Oh, we got 3 heads, which means we beat it. As Monty and Chu, in a panic, throw themselves against this pry bar, others in the pack do as well, and throwing themselves to the side, they all manage to crank this pry bar just enough to open up this hole in the side of the tree. Lycans rush into this hole. The fox is one of the first inside, and with a little whinny and a yelp, the fox latches onto one of this elf's arms. Others lumber inside, and just there is an absolute dog pile on this elf inside the tree. Bobby comes up and starts swinging his pack and just bopping this guy in the gut. As the chanting begins, so soon it stops. And with that, the elf is dragged out of this tree, which once again goes silent and still. And we drag this elf out onto the forest floor. At this point, he seems pretty well beaten. All right, I'll talk to you. He looks up wistfully at the tree that he just left. He says, we've been eating things, all right? Meanwhile, Monty is sitting on his chest. Bobby has got one of his feet and is just sort of like gripping onto it a little bit, like it's bucking around like an alligator, in spite of the fact that it's pretty much sitting mostly still. Illyria stands over his head with the spear not held at his throat anymore, just up and at the ready. And Chu crouches next to his prone form and looks down at his face.
Yeah, Walder, why don't you tell us some things? Seems smart now, doesn't it?
I'm from the Grove.
The Grove? What is the Grove?
Illyria says.
Well, that's where they hide out. That's where they sort of circle up their wagons, stop caring about everyone else in the world, in spite of the fact that we are lycans by blood. Makes us siblings or cousins of a sort, doesn't it? Cousins should look out for each other.
He grimaces, but says, I was sent south as a scout. We're supposed to investigate. We're supposed to find out why it is that... Well, why it is your pack keeps pushing north. At some point, our leaders realise something must be wrong. Because when your people show up, at least in the last year, they don't show up strong and in force anymore. They're not scouting parties. They're stragglers, families. They show up north, wounded, bloody, starving. We had to find out why. So, I was sent south. Possibly to meet up with your pack, but we can't find any of you. I've been searching for the whole phase. Our moon has moved back around and you are nowhere to be found. Empty camps, certainly. All sorts of strange weapons carved with runes, but... Well, you already know all this. Chu sort of looks shiftily, not really knowing all of this.
No, you just keep talking. You tell us everything you found. I want to know what you know about us.
Well, I know that you've had invaders in your territory. Not expeditioneers, we've seen those passing through. They keep moving out further into the territories, out further into the frontier. Not them. These strange weapons. And he sort of looks around and I think perhaps notices some of them in, I guess, Chu's belt. You're holding a few, but I know they're not yours. No, these are from something different, something dangerous.
Yes, Luca Brusca. They have been hunting us.
Hunting you, eh?
And others like us. Not just lycan, but vampires, ghosts.
Duskin hunters. I see. Well, that makes some of their movement make more sense. He tries to move a little bit, and Illyria whips the spear around and into place. Monty continues to sit on his chest and moves his knees over so that his knees are sitting on top of the elf's wrists. You've got me beat, all right? I'm not trying to escape. These Duskin hunters. They're coming in from the west. Now, we're not sure exactly where, but they seem to have organization. They don't seem to be part of any particular military. They're not Revenant Host like we thought at first. I haven't yet had a chance to report this back. But once I do, it's possible that our packs might be able to get along a bit better.
You should report this back. If your leaders see what's happening down here, what our pack is going through.
I think Chu gets a tiny little smile at the fact that Illyria has called it our pack.
When your leadership sees what our pack is going through, would they be willing to help? There is an enemy, and it's not us. We need to hunt. We've been pushed around. Well, they have. I'm new here. But things are dire. And when they're done coming for us, they're going to come for you.
Walder looks up into Chu's eyes and says, I have to admit, many of us haven't spent so much time down here south. We stay in the Grove and nearby.
Yeah, but not today, huh? This time you decided to...
Listen, please. We keep to ourselves. And as I've spent this month here, I've seen how rough you have it. And I've seen what you've done for us. I don't know if I can convince all of them, but if you let me go, I can try. You really are the vanguard. Between the vampires coming up from the south, the expeditioneers sticking to the roads because they know they shouldn't stray. You've protected us without us ever realizing it. Perhaps I can convince our leaders to recognize that we can join forces. And he looks up at Illyria. And it would seem that he's telling the truth. Illyria relaxes a bit, puts the spear back down at their side, and looks to Chu for some guidance, for some leadership here. Illyria still doesn't necessarily kind of wait for Chu to speak like the rest of the pack does. Generally, the pack just sort of allows Chu to speak first and foremost, but Illyria holds this spear off to the side, feeling like, you know, this thread is pretty well occupied right now, and leans in over Chu's shoulder, whispering so that only the Wild Hunger pack can hear.
I think we should let him go. Maybe not here. Maybe not so close to his thing here, this tree. But perhaps we bring him west with us. We show him just how dangerous it really is. And then we'll let him go back north. His information could be useful to us. We'll have to keep an eye on him, but, well, we've got plenty of people for that.
I think for this would be more of a roleplay decision, and so I'm gonna instead call this instead of a skill check, I'm going to actually, you know what I'm gonna do? Here's what we're gonna do. We are going to fade away from this scene as Chu makes a decision, and what I'm gonna do is. Darby is very busy this week, but I'm gonna text Darby and see what Chu would do, and that way, hopefully, you know, we've got some some good role play here. Because otherwise, I'm just gonna sort of like flip the coins and make like a percentage decision about it. So instead, yeah, I'm gonna ask about it. So we're gonna find out later on whether or not Chu decided to bring Walder along with, but we do know. It is time for us to move out. We fade to a new scene, deeper into the woods, along a path where the Pack of the Eternal Hunger, at least this small group led by Chu, is back on the move. we follow as revenue leads the way, and rumbling, not just from our stomachs, but a deep and resonant one from inside the stomach of revenue, hunger itself. The need to consume is powerful, and as we continue on our way, we find ourselves crossing a road. This road is cut deep into the forest, and it looks to be overgrown. There are branches and vines hanging out over the road. There are stones in the pathway that appear to have tumbled down onto the road. And overall, it appears to have fallen into disuse, although not entirely into disuse. Chu sniffs the wind and says, "Do you smell that?" Illyria stops and does indeed try to smell for what's on the wind. And it's so strong that actually, Igor, you can almost smell it yourself, even though it's difficult as a ghost to smell things usually in the real world. Food, like maybe lots of food. Chu lets out a deep breath. Hold. Looking around at the other lycan here, it is suddenly a dangerous moment. The rest of the lycan here are fidgety already, but with the rumbling of hunger itself just over our shoulders, this deep hunger is even more powerful. And as we listen, the sound starts to reach us. All the way down, clanking, rattling, the creak of wheels. As we look down the road, here comes a caravan. A caravan of perhaps simply travelers, perhaps expeditioneers, but they are on their way north. Now, how they came by this direction, we don't know. But even stranger is the wagon that trails along behind the rest of the caravan. This is a relatively small caravan. There are only 3 wagons, 2 of them in pretty good shape, and the third barely trucking along. It is a familiar sight for Illyria and Igor. A sight that they called home for a time. And very recently, the sight of Igor's death. It continues to rumble down the road here. This caravan is approaching from the south, heading north, and as it does so, it comes clearer and clearer into view. Definitely expeditioneers. They probably came by some roundabout path from the town of Dawngreet, and how they came by this wagon, we do not know. But this is the very wagon under which, with its broken wheels, that's how we knew it. It appears to have had at least one of them repaired, one of them replaced. This wagon had just sort of been left behind by some other group. We never knew who. But we called it home for a while, Igor and Illyria. We would come back at night and scrounge up whatever food we could beg or borrow from campfires around the expeditioneering camp, and then once we had gotten enough to fall asleep, we crawled down underneath this broken wagon, and it kept the rain off, even kept the snow away. We could steal a few coals from fires and put them down underneath with us and pack the snow against the the old tattered canvas curtain that we use to keep it shut and keep our bit of privacy. It was home for a while, this wagon. Until that dark night when Igor died underneath it. Igor, you might be seized by an impulse. It occurs to you that this wagon, it may have some more information for you. If these travelers are the owners of this wagon, the original owners of this wagon, perhaps they know a bit about it. If they were, close by, because you never met who it belonged to. It could have been somebody you shared a campfire with that just decided to leave it behind until they had a chance to get it repaired. But now it's on the road again, and short of being back in Dawngreet, this could be an impressive opportunity to do a bit more investigating about how you came to pass. There's a fun bit of wordplay. I don't think I've used that one before. That's fun. I like that. How Igor came to pass. Oh, yes. Oh, look at me go. So, Igor, certainly something to think about. However, between all of the consternation and excitement, the pack has not had a chance to hunt in hours. The pack has not had a chance to hunt in hours. Down on the road, a long and twisting road overhung by vines and occupied by stones that interrupt the path of this wagon. The 3 wagons and its whistling inhabitants, they are rolling in our direction, and the pack of the Eternal Hunger growls and whines with hunger. Chu looks in a panic at Steel, and Steel simply looks back and says,
I don't know if we can hold him here.
And indeed, the first member of the pack breaks off and starts to rush down toward the road. There are ditches on either side of the road where it seems that water has run through, but these little ditches suddenly lycan are hustling off down toward this. The fox is one of the very first to move and rushes forward at a sprint. Chu and Steel try to physically grab onto anyone that they can hold, and because Monty had a chance to eat his fill, he has got his wits pretty much about him. He's able to hold a few, but certainly not everyone. And the situation we now have on our hands is an unintentional ambush. Chu starts to bark out some orders, literally barking them out. And Illyria, unfortunately, certainly feels the weight of this pressure. And I'm going to say it is very unlikely that Illyria is going to be able to hold off from this himself. Yep. Very unlikely means I flip 3 coins, and if any one of them are tails, it's bad news. Or I should say, it's the desired truth is false. The desired truth was Illyria is going to be able to resist this temptation, resist this hunger, but unfortunately not. And Illyria hunches down low and charges forward on the tails of this fox. Igor, you are watching as the pack is suddenly descending into chaos. They have not had a chance to hunt as recently as they needed to. Chu is just barely retaining control as the leader here. Even Steel is starting to sort of edge away. And Monty is really one of the few that seems to be, yes, very hungry, but at the very least well fed. Igor, what do you do? Down in the distance, about 50 meters away, And for my more American folks here, meters and yards are pretty much interchangeable for our purposes. About 50 meters away, this caravan is rolling slowly along. It has not yet spotted any of the imminent threat that is upon it. Even you, like I said, can smell some of the food coming off of this. This does not appear to be a careful or stealthy group of expeditioneers. You can see a couple of people that appear quite well equipped. They're currently in the lead of this, and they're doing what they can to sort of lead this group. But with the stealth of beasts on their side, the pack is still quieter, and they continue to advance without notice. They are hungry, but not feral, and so the pack tactics kick in, and these very hungry lycan, they've gone wild in the eye, but they're quietly advancing on this caravan. With 50 meters and closing, what is it you would like to do? You hear sort of a quiet singing from inside. It appears to be a mix of folks, and at the same time, you don't see any children aboard. This appears to be perhaps a scouting mission, but likely not an attempt at homesteading or settling, because it doesn't appear to be full families aboard here. Looks like a group of expeditioneers either looking for claims or potentially just trying to find resources. Long hunting, possibly. Igor, do you have any ideas, any plans? Three wagons. Each wagon looks like it's got about 3 people attached to it. There are horses, 2 horses pulling each wagon, and then a couple of, and then 2 additional horses sort of following along behind. Three wagons, 6 horses, 9 people. And don't forget, folks, this is a chat play campaign. So if any of you are joining us for the first time, go ahead and use the lore command. You can go ahead and find out more about this campaign, what we're doing, and why we are here. But you can also find out about, well, how to play. Chat controls the character of Igor, a recently dead elf lad who has come back as a ghost and is doing his best to find out how it is he came to pass. What do we think, gang? What does Igor want to try and do here? Is Igor going to sort of hold off and try and just sort of see how this goes down? Is he going to try and intervene? Going to try and help the pack to ambush this caravan? Is he going to try and blow the ambush and sort of warn the caravan? What is it you'd like to do here? What is it you want to try to accomplish, and how would you like to do so? Make the horse blind in the hopes that it stops. Yeah, make one of the lead horses sort of stop. Throw sand in the eyes. Okay. More time, hopefully, to inspect everything. I mean, I will tell you, Igor, you know that if this caravan stops, all these hungry lycan who are no longer able to follow orders because their instincts have kicked in too much, they are absolutely going to raid this thing for all the food it has aboard. If that is, I just want to sort of make the situation clear, and if that's cool, you're good to go. Hen says, as a not very professional horse rider, this suggestion is highly offensive to me. Hen, hello, welcome back. It's good to have you here. Yeah, I mean, I will say, yeah, they're certainly not our enemies. Sandra, like, make another plan, do you mean? Yeah, so here's what's up. Hen, if you're joining us just now, we are currently for the holidays. It's going well, Hen. I think you're doing. I mean, I think you're coming in at an odd time here. Sander says you're free to come up with one, but I don't want to, Sander. And this is one of those things where, like, I just want to clarify. This is definitely not me saying don't do it. As a matter of fact, if you can get this pack well fed, they're gonna be much easier to. Oh, you're talking to Hen. Gotcha. Okay, cool. I gotcha. But yeah, that was not me saying don't do it. If you can get this pack well fed, they're going to be much easier to, I guess I would say, control. But what I mean is, like, they're going to be much more in control of themselves if they're going to be well fed here. So definitely not a bad plan. It was just one of those things where I wanted to make sure that it was clear what we were doing. But yeah, Hen, currently we are away from school. There have been all of these threats surrounding the school, these Duskin hunters, other factions of Duskin, from vampires to the pack of the Wild Guardians up north. All this stuff has been sort of putting pressure on, and now there are tons and tons of refugees from Chu's pack who are down at the castle, and so Chu has decided to find out what's going on and get some revenge. And so she and her gang have headed away from the castle, and Illyria has decided to join, and Igor has very loyally decided to come along with. We currently find ourselves, all of the werewolves in the group, all of the lycan in the group, I should say, are absolutely ravenously hungry. We are currently following an enormous dire wolf. This is sort of the god, you might say, of this pack, following this creature west. But we've just come across a road, and we are sort of unintentionally ambushing this small caravan of expeditioneers. Basically, they don't really want to ambush this caravan, but they're too hungry, and this thing smells of food. So the question is, does Igor want to help with the ambush and try to get these lycan fed, even though we're going to be taking food from these expeditioneers? Or does Igor want to try and, like, warn them away or something? Because, I mean, there's a possibility it will get violent. You know that none of these Duskin, if there's food available, they'll go for the food. None of them are in their wolf form, which would be more dangerous. They're all in their humanoid form right now, and so the only concern is if it comes to violence. But they're not hunting for people. And then I guess the last thing to be aware of is that Igor is still on this mission to try and understand what happened, who was responsible for his death, trying to get to the bottom of that. And this wagon, the third and crappiest wagon here, looks to be the repaired wagon that they, Igor and Illyria, called home for many, many nights, for months while they were back in the town of Dawngreed. So that's what's up. That's where we're at. So you have got some potential interest in kind of investigating this this third wagon further, and potentially the caravan if they know anything about it. But that's the situation. Hen, I'm going to proceed with. Yes, Sandra, the wagon that we died under, in other words. Yes, it is the wagon that Igor died under. But Hen, I'm going to assume that you want to continue with that course of action unless you tell me otherwise. Got any sharp objects with which we might cut the reins or the hands of the handler? Let's see. So we've currently got a few things that are established. We've still got these, like, tree climbing spikes. We have got this spile, and we've got a crowbar. But currently there are still, I guess, a total of 2, 4, 6. So there are a total of 5 uses of timberjack packs here as well. This is how I like to handle packs. I kind of like the I like the Dungeon World system of it's a grab bag. If it would normally be in there, then yeah, it can be in there. Hen says, I'm thinking something akin to a natural throwing knife. I tell you what, we can make a check and you can hunt for something, or you can just duck into the pack and you can absolutely find a knife of some sort in there. I guess if you want to make it look like a stone just randomly, like a sharp stone randomly flew out of the woods, that would be the only reason to go with, trying to hunt for something. But you can definitely find a knife in one of these packs if you wish. So I'm going to assume you go ahead and grab for a knife, which means that you've got a total of 4 uses left. And I want to be clear also, these items don't disappear once you are done using them for the first time. So you've still got these tree climbing spikes. You've still got that pry bar. You've just used the sort of charges of these packs. So something for y'all to be aware of there. But you are going to need to make this throw. Now, you being a ghost, you are pretty stealthy, and so you might have to do some stealth in here. Igor. Bobby has stayed behind a little bit. Bobby is one of the few stragglers who has not ducked into the ditch along the side of this road or started to rustle off through the forest toward this caravan. It is currently approaching, and you know that your lycan companions are going to reach it before before this caravan sort of crosses with you. So you're either going to have to rush up toward it or make a long distance throw. You're currently about 50 meters out. Well, Hen, that's an interesting question. Hen says, quick question, have we got the ability to possess objects yet? And I'm going to tell you what. This will be your first time doing so if you do. But we are currently playing, instead of Ironsworn, we have switched over this is now the second scroll of this campaign. For the second scroll, at the very least, we're switching to a game called Silver Bullet, written by me. And it is a lot more freeform, which means that as someone, basically your entire, here, let me read your entire character sheet. You've got 2 energy in the facet Recently Murdered Ghost. You've got 1 energy in the facet Back Alley Alchemist, and you have got 1 energy in the facet Relationship with Illyria. So, that's your whole character sheet. It is much more freeform and flexible. Here's the one thing I'm going to tell you. Earlier today, Igor tried to do some sort of some fading stuff, but it's daytime, and that's not great for ghosts, which means that Igor is not able to do any of the stuff that would interrupt his corporeal form. However, here's what I will say. If you want to try and do this, I'll let you make the flip for it. However, if you decide to do this, you're going to be trapped in this knife until nightfall. No matter how this goes, you're going to be trapped there. But let Hen have some fun, says Sander. All right, tally ho. I like this idea, gang. Igor, you quickly fish around inside Bobby's pack, and you pull out a knife. It is this sort of angular, kind of brutish thing that works about as much like a hatchet as it does like a knife, but you've got an incredible throw to make. You know that if you leave your sort of corporeal form here, it's going to mean trouble, unless you've got some other way to protect yourself, and being an object, being sort of inside this knife, might just do the trick. All you know is you have to get there quickly, otherwise your companions are going to beat you there. Igor, you swing back, and you are going to huck this knife forward. I'm going to go ahead and say that this is a tough throw, all right? Oh boy, how am I going to moderate this? I think I'm gonna say, yeah, I think I'm going to. Oh boy, this is gonna be 3 coins. All right, you are absolutely going to be able to flip both of your ghost energy. And here's the other thing I'm going to tell you. Let's flip this first and find out if it matters. Holy crap. I don't even need to tell you about this new mechanic that I was going to introduce you all to, because all 3 of these coins have flipped up heads. Igor, in one fluid motion, you grab this knife out of Bobby's pack, this wide, brutish knife. You chuck it forward, and as it moves away from you, your outstretched hand fades into a mist and draws forward, and the rest of you is dragged into the knife with it. You find yourself spinning in the air and yet able to barely keep sense of your surroundings. We get that funky arrow cam that follows along the arrow as this knife spins forward. Somewhere behind you, a very strange shell of tree bark looking clay falls to the ground, and the knife slices through the reins connecting these horses onto the front wagon, and thunk, the knife that is Igor thunks into the wood on the front of this wagon. As you do so, the lycan advance. They jump out of the ditch on either side. The wagons are trapped, and these lycan are suddenly able to overrun these carts. There's wailing and howling up in the distance. Actually, no, it's not up in the distance because you're there now. I can't wrap my head around the fact that you just put yourself in a knife. The knife thuds in, and Igor, you can sort of feel around you. You're not seeing it with eyes, obviously, but you can feel around you these lycans sort of jumping forward, and they raid this caravan. Oh, hey, no, you get away from. All right, who are you kids? Hey. As lycan jump out of this ditch, Steel rushes up from behind, manages to get a hold of these horses, and although his knuckles go white over the reins, holding them, looking at their necks and their meaty flanks, from in the back of this middle wagon, suddenly out jumps a fox with a string of sausages comically in its mouth, jumps off and rushes down into the ditch. And the pack starts hooting and hollering as they tear the canvas off of this middle one and start to go to town on the food supplies of this caravan. Illyria's going to get involved here, but I do want to ask Igor, what do you do next? I will remind you, it's daytime. You have already expended so much of your sort of focus and your ability to manifest. You are going to be trapped in this knife until sunset, which is going to be in about 2 hours here. So something to keep in mind. But what does Knife Igor do? You're probably going to have to make a check to wiggle yourself out of this board before you do anything else. But then you're once you're free of it, you're going to be able to go and do other stuff. So let me know what you want to try and do next. Gav Boom Goes One. Gav, hello. We are currently playing a game called Silver Bullet, which I wrote, but essentially, yes. This is with chat. I am playing the character of Illyria. Illyria is a werewolf, and Igor is being played by chat. And so if you want to jump in and learn more about that, go ahead and use the lore command. That will bring up information about our characters, what we're doing here. Basically, the two of us have recently become Duskin. Duskin being the blanket term for vampires, ghosts, lycan, the creatures of the night, essentially. But the two of us are recently become Duskin, and we've spent the last couple of months at a secret school for Duskin. However, we are now out on the hunt. We're out on the prowl. If you want to find out more about this, go ahead and use the playlists command. This will go ahead and pop up all the links to the playlists. There's a special link tree I've got attached to this so that you can find all the past episodes of this. You can find them over on Spotify or on YouTube. Go ahead and search for Side Cannons, all one word. That's what you're hunting for if you want to get totally caught up on where we're at. Let's see. Hen says permission to wiggle out and scare the hell out of anyone on board. Just imagine Clippy, but it's a horrifying combat knife. Yeah, this weird angular, if any of y'all have read the Ranger's Apprentice. This is essentially a sax knife. Let's go ahead and make this happen. First, Illyria is going to go, however. Chew and Steel rush forward, knowing that this is inevitable. Only Monty and Bobby are really able to sort of keep their wits about them because one of them is real young, the other one's been recently fed. And so everyone else is pretty much seized by a strong desire to get some food in them. There are members of this caravan here who have stood up and have got their weapons drawn, but aren't quite sure what to do next, as this raid is being carried out entirely by children. They're sort of, teens, and so definitely of the age where these caravanners may decide that violence is necessary. It's not like you're a bunch of 8-year-olds, but currently they're still in kind of a daze, in a panic, just sort of confused. And I think Illyria, I'm going to say that until Illyria's got some food in them, the only sensible thing for me to do is to get Illyria some food. So Illyria is going to try and rush forward. This recently uncovered wagon here in between the two others, this middle wagon seems to be the chuck wagon, the one with all the food aboard, and there are barrels of ale sloshing around and water. There are stacks of crates that smell like bread or crackers, and then there are links of dried meat hanging from the upside of the carriage, from the sort of from the arches over the top of the wagon. Illyria's gonna rush forward and try to do what I can. Now, Illyria only has one coin toward Werewolf the Eternal Hunger, and some of these other lycan are pretty strong individuals. I'm gonna say there's a decent bit of food, but I'm gonna make a flip here. Okay, so I've only got one coin, and it's against a 1. So let's see if I can get anything. No, Illyria, there is growling, and it's not entirely good-natured. The pack is hungry, and these pack members, these other lycan, they're not in their wolf form, but they're still wild. And as Illyria rushes forward to try and get their hands on some of this food, they're met with growls from a red-headed girl inside the wagon. As Illyria approaches, and there's this big sort of, it looks like this sort of smoked jerky is hanging off of one of the sides, and as Illyria makes a grab for it, this red-headed girl suddenly rises up from the side and growls at Illyria. Illyria starts to back down, and this red-headed girl grabs onto it and starts gnashing away with her teeth at it. I'm gonna go ahead and make a check here. I'm gonna say the desired. We establish a desired truth, and then I can make a flip. That's how sort of luck checks work here. Hogwarts Hippie says, "Dang, it feels like I missed a lot." Did I hear that Hen was here? You did, Hogwarts Hippie. Yeah, you didn't miss a ton. Basically, we have arrived at a caravan. The gang is super hungry, and as such, they have executed essentially an impromptu, unintentional ambush. We are in the presence of hunger itself, and we are simply too hungry to avoid our instincts here. And so we are raiding this caravan. Igor did something awesome. Igor threw a knife and then possessed the knife as it was traveling. Because I've told what y'all sort of how Igor is a little bit limited for the day. Igor is now going to be trapped in this knife just until nightfall, at which point you'll be able to come out and be a little bit more focused. But so for the next couple of hours, you're a knife, you're a possessed knife, and you can do possessed object stuff. Illyria is backing off from this caravan. I'm going to make a luck check here. We state our desired truth that these caravanners don't attack us, either because we're young or because they're so surprised. I'm going to call this unlikely. If there are any tails here, it's bad news for us. 1 tails. It's not all of them. But suddenly, a short man, balding in the middle, and with some considerable sideburns, wearing just dirty breeches and a leather vest, leaps forward with a hatchet and starts to shake it and swing it at these kids nearby. Let's see if everyone is able to escape. Now, he's at a bit of a disadvantage here, but he is definitely going to be rolling nonetheless. Oh, hold on. So, it doesn't count unless it's on the desk. Okay, against the 1, let's see how our friends here do. They absolutely managed to beat it. There are yelps as these lycan try to jump out of the way, and they succeed in doing so. This caravaner, expeditioneer, swings his hatchet around, and it thunks into one of the bows covering this wagon, but doesn't manage to connect with anyone. But there is a new threat in play here.
Hey, now, no. Hey, kids, what you doing?
This is our food. How are we gonna get north if we ain't got no food?
He is continuing to swing this around. A pretty small man, but with wiry, sinewy arms. Let's see. Vilchek? I'm gonna try a couple of pronunciations here. Let me know how to say your name here. Is it A, Vilchek, B, Vilchek, or C, Vilcek? I'm guessing it's A or B. Vilchek or Vilcek? Vilchek. Vilchek or Vilchek? A, Vilchek, or B, Vilchek? I'm going to try and say your name correctly. But if you're wondering how this works, welcome. This is a chat play campaign. I am the GM. I am also playing a character named Illyria. Illyria is a young lycan, a young werewolf, and chat is playing a character named Igor. Igor is a young ghost, currently possessing a large hunting knife, and because of some stuff that happened earlier in the day, is not going to be able to leave this hunting knife until nightfall. But that's maybe okay, because you're protected from the sun, which is kind of harsh for ghosts, and then also you're able to do possessed knife stuff, like fly around and thunk into stuff. So, let's see. Okay. Chatting about school, fantastic. But yeah, chat is going to work together. Basically, if you've got something you would like Igor to say, put it in quotes. If you want Igor to do something, go ahead and start your message with the ampersand symbol. If you need reminders at any time, you can use the lore command, and that will tell you about sort of how things work here. But, okay, where were we? Borev. He is swinging and hacking away, trying to ward off these kids who have now attacked this caravan.
Borov, no! They're just children!
I don't care, we need this food!
Borov continues to swing away, and in doing so, manages to sort of hack into some of the timbers here. Igor, meanwhile, is going to try and do some ghost stuff. Igor, your facets are recently murdered ghost, back alley alchemist, and your relationship with Illyria. I think 2 of these are going to go ahead and work here. Just to sort of spook these people, they've probably never seen anything like this, and so they're surprised, they're spooked. I'm only going to flip 1 coin. Looks like it is tails, so you need to meet or beat 1. You need to get heads. You need 1 head or more. Guess what? You beat it. Suddenly, this knife wiggles out of the wood in the front of this lead wagon. It spins up into the air, and immediately behind the man shouting at oh, now I want to call him Wilczek. The man shouting at his companion, and sails over his shoulder, causing all three of the expeditioners on the first wagon to suddenly scramble backward. What? A haunting? It's daytime. How can we be haunted? And this knife thuds into the timber right next to. Oh God, what did I call him? I just had a name for him. The man with the hatchet. It thuds into this timber just next to the hatchet, and his hand jerks away from it.
What? What's this? Oh, gods! We're being attacked by everything under the sun!
As the other lycan try to move away, Illyria is seized by a sudden desire to go in for this stuff. The risk has risen somewhat for Illyria, and although Illyria is pretty quick, let's see. I'm gonna say I think I get to flip 3 here, but it's gonna be against 3 as well. I gotta beat 1. Gotta beat 1 tails. I gotta get heads. I need 1 or more heads. Ideally more. Oh, doesn't count unless it's on the desk. I got 1. I got 2. Okay, fantastic. Illyria swings their spear over onto their back and crouches up beside this wagon. Immediately up above Illyria, this wheedling, short, hatchet-wielding man has suddenly jerked back away from his hatchet, but he's still trying to sort of like, he pushes a kid off the side of the wagon who thuds down below and giggles, running off into the forest with what looks like a tiny little box full of some kind of food, maybe crackers. As this man is distracted, Illyria leaps up and tries to make a grab at whatever's left. Now, most of the stuff that's easy to carry off has already been taken, and so Illyria grabs a hold of a small keg and wrenches it down off of this caravan, but Illyria's strong, and they are able to just manage to get control of this thing as it swings down below and runs off into the ditch as well, seized by the joy of the moment and giggling as well. Running off into the forest with our spoils, Illyria has got a keg full of something here, and the rest of the group, many of us have gotten away with something delicious. This caravan is furious, understandably. And now I think we're back to Igor. Let me know what you want to do, Igor. You've definitely succeeded in sort of distracting them. They've not been able to really react to what's going on here, mostly because of your efforts. And so, what is it you would like to do next? It seems like most of the lycan have managed to get something and then escape. And well-fed lycan are going to be much easier. They're going to be able to maintain control of themselves much better. So this could be a very good thing for your group, except for a couple of things. Number 1, it's very possible that these expeditioners will decide we need that food back. The only way to get it is we're going to have to go after those kids. Something to consider. They've not been able to react yet, and most of the lycan are now sort of hightailing it into the forest, which is, I mean, it's kind of their territory. Maybe it'll be fine. We shall see. The second issue is a little bit more personal for Igor. There was a wagon back in the expeditioneer camp that Illyria and Igor called home for quite some time. There was a wagon, and it was broken down, and we crawled underneath it and called it home for a while. Illyria and Igor. But not only that, it wasn't just home. It was also the place where Igor was murdered. And Igor, you don't know yet why you were murdered or who did it, but you've been trying to get to the bottom of it. It is your quest. It is one of your few quests. And as such, either you're going to have to go all the way back to the town of Dawngreet, or this group or this wagon might have some more information for you. Is there anything you want to do about that? What do you want to do about this? The moment is fleeting because, and you know, perhaps you want to try and like regroup with the lycan and try to come back to this caravan later. Hopefully they'll still be here. You are seized with a tough decision right now. I'm not gonna lie. Your essence is currently, it feels so strange to be hurling yourself around as this knife. Fortunately, you are fairly aerodynamic and not terribly heavy, and so you're able to do this. You've picked a good weapon for this, essentially. Like a sword would be more difficult. A knife is kind of the perfect thing. But you've got kind of this split-second decision here to make, even as your body feels the strangest it has ever felt. Probably more strange than going through walls or becoming maybe as strange as becoming mist, although mist just sort of felt a little bit more natural to you as a ghost. Now your essence is all tied up in the essence of this object. It's not a living thing. It feels very, very strange. One of the many strange feelings you've had since you were murdered. And Hen says, do we have any senses to collect this information? That's the thing, Igor, especially as you are not in your humanoid form. Your senses have become more about sort of aura and things that give off auras, which can be just about anything. It does not need to be alive to give off an aura. But essences is sort of like how you can like make sense of things. And so Sandra says sight in some way, I hope. It's not sight specifically, and so, because I'll certainly say, like, things that are far away are really hard for you to perceive when you are not in your humanoid form. When you are mist, or when you are currently inhabiting an object like this, it's really hard to see things far away, because you just you can't interact with their essence very much. But things that are close up, you actually get kind of a stronger read on them, as if you had, like, a really great sense of smell or something. But yeah, you're able to pick up on essences. And so yes, you absolutely have means of absorbing information if you wanted to hunt around. But you being stuck as a knife, as all of your companions have left, if you get left behind, possibly, we're gonna let the coins decide here, but this is all a possibility. And you have got a snap decision to make here. I guess I would say, here, I'll say this. We'll boil it down to a couple of decisions. Do you stay here at the caravan, possibly risking getting separated from your companions, possibly risking, I guess, capture, you might say? They wouldn't know that they're capturing you. They wouldn't know you're in there. But you're stuck in there for a couple of hours if they do decide to pick up this knife. So possibly risking that. A, do you stay here and try to get some more information? Or B, do you go and join your companions and either hope that you can turn them back immediately and get some help from them, or B, that you can get them back here later tonight, perhaps? What do you want to do here? A or B? A is stay, B is flee. They're still just barely close enough that if you really get a good spin going, you can probably right now like land in a tree next to Illyria, and hopefully Illyria will sort of pick up the gist of things. We've got a couple of votes for B. We've got enough people in here right now. I'll probably wait for one more vote. I'm seeing two votes for B. With the number of people in here, I want to see at least one more vote for B before we proceed with that one. Because I want to give people a chance to say A if they wish. But I got 2 votes for B. If we get a third vote for B, we're doing it. Unless we suddenly get a ton of votes for A. Hen says, this feels like one of those situations where it's like, would you still be my friend if I was a worm? Of course, of course. The answer is B. Fantastic. Igor, you decide now is not the time to stay, as this man with this wiry man with the sideburns leaps forward for his hatchet and is also making a grab for you. You are going to hurl yourself off into the forest and try to thunk into a tree next to Illyria so that Illyria can pick you up and we can keep moving. Illyria is, you have got a bond to Illyria. You've got a facet that is a relationship with Illyria. And so I'm going to let you add this onto your flip. You're doing ghost stuff, yes, but you're also doing relationship with Illyria stuff. And so you get to flip 3 coins for this one. I'm going to say that normally this would be easy enough, but you've also got a guy who's trying to grab for you. So this is going to be 2 coins, 1 tails. You got to meet or beat 1. You need 1 or more heads. Come on, come on, come on. 2 heads. Thunk. Sailing in between the wriggling fingers of this wiry man with the sideburns, grasping for you. The knife that is Igor sails off into the woods, just over Illyria's shoulder, and with a shudder, Illyria continues to run forward as Igor thunks into the keg that Illyria is carrying. And as this knife wriggles, sort of wiggles in front of Illyria, Illyria may or may not realize that this knife is Igor, but the 2 of us run forward together with the rest of the pack, and we rejoin Ravenu. Hunger itself, deep den mother, who is waiting for us in the forest, for whatever reason has decided not to join our little our little raiding party. But this was a very successful venture. Illyria and Igor. Illyria was maybe not at the top of their game today, but Igor absolutely was. And Igor, in spite of having some trouble earlier this morning, it seems like, you know what? You got trapped in your non-corporeal form. You didn't need it. You didn't need your corporeal form. You're doing better as a knife than you ever did before for some reason. It's the dice. It's the coins. Oh, by the way, anyone joining us late today, did I tell you, I don't think I mentioned it, earlier today, I flipped 8 coins in a row. For a couple of different things, but 8 of them in a row. Tails are always bad in the game of Silver Bullet, and I flipped 8 tails in a row. The odds of that are like less than 1%. I want to say it's like 0.6% or something like that. Some of you stats folks can go ahead and let me know. I use an online calculator for all of my stuff. But I don't have one in front of me right now. Igor lodged as a knife into this barrel and into this keg that Illyria is carrying off into the forest. You wiggle slightly as we run, and when we arrive in the next clearing, Chu is absolutely chowing down on bits of crackers and everything. There was a mad dash at the beginning. A lot of very, very hungry lycan, probably lycan that are hungrier than they have ever been in their lives. You are in the presence of a god. This dire wolf that you have now rejoined here, that, like I said, for whatever reason did not join in your raiding party. This dire wolf is the size of a small ship, and towers above a number of trees, and with paws the size of ale barrels. This god is a powerful ally and is guiding us, but at the same time, it has really increased the ferocious hunger of so many of us here in the party. And so, now that we're fed, now that we're getting fed, some of that animosity between one another. The redhead sheepishly offers some of this dried jerky over to Illyria. Now that everyone's had a few bites to eat, a lot of the food goes into a communal pile, and there is hardtack and crackers. There are barrels of mead and water. There are big hunks of dried meat and smoked jerky. And then Illyria, having heaved this big old keg off the side of it, cracks it open, and we find that it is chock full of bacon. Chock full of bacon. And there is, although Chu immediately warns them, there are a few small howls of delight here as the lycan kids jump in to this feast. We were simply unable to wait for very long before before digging in here, and yet there are threats nearby. These expeditioneers, I'm going to say it is very unlikely. So I'm going to flip 3 coins, and if any of them are tails, this is bad news for us. I'm going to say it's very unlikely that they decide, you know what, we'll just go back to Dawn Greet and resupply here. They're probably going to come after us. As we stuff our faces, the group is much more focused. Having been fed, we are now at our very tip-top shape. We're never full. The hunger is indeed eternal, and as we continue to eat, we just grab whatever is nearby as we start to hear the sounds of these expeditioneers following us into the forest. Now, we're going to make some checks. And we are wrapping up on our session today. We're nearing the end here, but Igor, let me know if you would like to participate in this process at all, but it's not time to get away. Now, as a knife, I genuinely do not know. This is going to be up to y'all as the pilots of this character. I genuinely have no idea how you would help these lycan to escape in knife form, but the sun is setting. You are hopefully going to be able to come out of this soon, but you are still trapped in knife form. So let me know how you want to help if you can think of a way. I can't think of one. But that's half the fun of playing with you. That's half the fun. That's the reason why I do this and don't just sort of tell a story to y'all by myself. Igor, if you can think of anything, let me know, but you're in knife form right now. Chu says to the group, as the eternal hunger, as Ravenu starts to lumber away into the woods, continuing to head west. We don't know where Ravenu is leading us, but she has led us to food so far, and as such, we are going to follow. Chu says,
all right, pack up everything we got, everything you can carry. Illyria, I hope you can bring that with us, because, boy, it would be good not to leave that here.
And as the voices grow nearer, as these expeditioneers that we just totally raided start to tramp into the forest, it appears they have decided they're not going to head back and resupply. They're going to try and get back their food from us. Here we go. Here's what I think we're going to do. This is going to be not just a single check. This is going to be a... You know what? This is going to be a series of checks. If I'm going to say we're sort of one sort of sprint away. If we match, then this group is going to essentially be the same distance away. We haven't escaped, but they haven't caught up to us. If we fail, that means they're going to close the distance on that sprint, and then the next one means they will have caught us. The next failure means they will have caught us. However, if we succeed, that means we're going to get a second sprint away. I'm going to call this kind of a 4 o'clock here, I guess I would say. No, I'll call it 3. We want a 3 clock. We want to get 3 sprints away, and then we should be in the clear. We are currently 1 sprint away. But yeah, stuff like blocking their path, that could absolutely be part of it. Yeah, absolutely. There we go. I knew y'all could think of something that I wouldn't be able to. Let's see. Hen says, hear me out. What's the chance we could fly up in the canopy above the expeditioneers, make some big old branches fall on their heads? Very, very possible. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say that you don't really need to make much of a stealth check here. You are a knife, and they don't know that you're a possessed knife yet. So even if they were to fully see you, even if they were to see you flying toward them, they're going to assume somebody threw it. So you don't really need to roll for stealth right now. I am going to have you flip to find out if you can do this, and if you succeed, they get to flip with 1 fewer coin for this one. 2 tails. They are spread out. As Chew gives the orders, and Steel starts to give sort of more specific directions on groupings and stuff, and send people into the woods to the west to follow Revenue. The food is mostly collected. There are little bits of crumbs here and there, and he stays behind to sweep those crumbs up and just scatter them into the leaves as time is running out. Illyria stays with Steel and tries to help this process. Being an expeditioneer, or at least an aspiring one, Illyria has become accustomed to concealing evidence of camp. But the crashing is nearby, and this knife that is stuck in the side of this keg, Illyria says,
Wait a moment. Igor, where's Igor?
Illyria's never seen you do this before, Igor. Suddenly, this knife spins off into the this knife spins off into the rapidly growing twilight as Illyria looks after it and says, Igor? You have to meet, frankly, two tails. You've got one heads. All right. Now here's where I'm going to offer you something. All right. This is a new mechanic we have not sort of taken into effect yet. Burn. Okay. This is a mechanic in the game of Silver Bullet, as I have written it. In Silver Bullet, you can flip for things, but you can also spend your energy to ensure successes. Right now, you've got one heads, all right? I only flipped one of your coins so far, though, and you get to flip two. You're going to go ahead and get to burn this energy if you wish. You're going to push yourself really hard, and you're going to spend this one, and this coin is going to disappear until the next time you get a chance to rest. If you decide to burn this, I will let you decide which facet to burn it from. In exchange for burning this, it is automatically a heads. You don't flip it, it's automatically heads. Let branch fire rain on their meager heads. Good lord. That was tough to parts. Let's see. I'm gonna flip 2 coins for them. They would flip with 3, but they don't get to. Guess what? They're both heads. That's good for us. As a matter of fact, that's so good for us, we only need 1 heads here. And we've got the darn thing. We rush off into the forest. Footsteps crunching against leaves in the rapidly cooling night air as our breath starts to appear and the sun casts its last oranges over the sky and falls into deep purple. Igor, you fling off into the sunset and thunk, you find a tree branch, and this knife thunks into the tree branch and just comically starts to do sort of little backflips and thunk, 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 continue to crunch against this tree branch. It's long and it's huge, but it's weak. You found a bit of dead tree branch here, and as you thunk against it, it weakens, it cracks. You hear this branch crashes, and these expeditioneers are fighting the branches. There are dead leaves all over it. They're spitting them out of their mouths. You haven't gotten all of them, but you have certainly interrupted them and distracted the rest. We are 2 sprints away now. We've gained quite an advantage on our pursuers. Now, this is hopefully the final check as we continue to flee into the forests. Okay, 1 tails. We've got to meet or beat 1 tails. Okay, we got 1. As we continue into the forest, they continue to hunt along behind us. Now, Igor, I'm going to assume that you're going to try and sort of follow from tree to tree here. You don't even need to flip, it was heads. Igor, you were lodged into a tree up above this gang of expeditioneers that are down in front of you, and you now spin off. Thunk, 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 and getting closer and closer every time, you manage to follow Illyria into the forest.
Igor! Igor, is that you?
Are you the knife? You finally learned how to do it.
Igor, it is so strange to be here inside this knife, and yet you are putting in work. These expeditioneers have managed to rally a little bit, and they continue to follow behind. We rush off into the forest following Ravenu. We're not sure where we're going, but the ground under our feet gets muddier and muddier. And wetter and wetter. And small streams, very still water, murky and muddy, start to appear as we rush forward, holding all of our provisions up over our heads to try and keep them safe. Now, we have to beat one tails here. Come on. Oh my god, all tails. We have lost a bit of our advantage. We continue to rush forward, but they are gaining on us. As we are the first to reach this murky patch here, the ground underneath our feet starts to stick, and the fox and the weasel, our scouts, they manage to keep their feet pretty light, and they manage to rush forward, but they have to turn back and look at us because in our humanoid forms, we are a bit more clumsy. We don't have all four of those paws to kind of distribute our weight over, and as we lumber through this mud, we can hear them closing in behind us. The expeditioneers are shouting.
Now you listen up. If you just give that food back, I'm sure we're gonna have no troubles, alright? We've got a long journey ahead of us, and we're not going back.
Here they come. Here they come, y'all. Ooh, good grief. We have to meet or beat 2 this time. They're catching up, gang. They're catching up. We've got 2. We managed to stay just 1 sprint away as we continue off into the forest. The ground underneath our feet getting muddier all the time, and off in the distance, suddenly, we see lights. They're small, and they filter through the trees back in this direction. As we advance into the night, night has fallen. We are moving on our instincts and our senses now. This is close. All right, let's see what we got to beat this time. 1 tail, 2 tails. Suddenly, this hatchet rushes into the forest and buries itself in a tree next to Illyria, and we hear,
I seen them, they're right now this way.
the expeditioneers have caught up to us. We have got to get out of here. The next failure on this is bad news for us, because it means we are caught. Crashing all around us. We may be lycan, but we're in our humanoid forms right now, and we aren't used to traveling like this. Not in the mud, not laden down with kegs and crates. 3 tails. Around us, the expeditioneers close in. We hear the clanking of weapons and armor.
Hey, just put those down, alright? We can talk about this.
I don't need to talk about it, give it back.
They're children, all right? Just, we'll take what we can, and maybe we can bring them back with us.
We don't want that. All we can do is just stay a little bit ahead of them, but we need 3 heads for this. You know what? I'm gonna say because we are only part of the effort. We can only burn 1 each. We can't burn more than that. But Igor, we're flipping for the group right now. If you want to burn 1, Illyria is definitely willing to burn 1 as well. If we want to burn to make 2 of these automatic successes, These will come out of our own personal sort of banks here. So we're burning our own individual effort to try and contribute to the group's success. Hogwarts Hippie says, I say we burn. I'm going to try and burn as well, and that means that it's just going to come down to that one flip. Okay. Illyria burns one. Illyria is going to turn and heave this keg around in a pirouette and tries to strike out at the nearest expeditioneer and manages to catch the wiry side-burned man and hurls him back against a tree. Oh, God! Igor, in knife form, suddenly snaps into a tree just by the head of a woman wielding a large battle axe, and she dodges backward, unsure of where the knife came from in the darkness. And then Igor lodges back into the keg as Illyria swings it at Sideburns. So we need to hit 3 heads. We've only got a 12 or 13% chance of getting 3 heads, but we have just burned 2. So now we've gone from 13% to 50-50. That we just stay out ahead of them here. I've flipped it. So underneath my hand right now is the answer to our question to whether or not we get caught right now. All right, here we go. I'm gonna let y'all figure it out before I do. Did we make it? Is it heads or tails? Heads is good, tails is bad. It's heads! It's heads! It's heads! Okay, we managed to meet it, but that was a hard one to meet. We managed to stay just out of reach. Illyria is going to slough off this pack here. Okay, so we're flipping with 4, and they're only flipping with 3 this time. We are currently 0 sprints away. We need to be 3 sprints away. All heads, don't even need to flip. And so, I think I'm gonna, because of that, I'm going to allow Illyria to hold on to this backpack for now. These sort of startling moments seem to have been just enough to give us a moment to get away. The night has fully fallen now. It is dark, and our pursuers, they find themselves entirely in the dark. And I think because of that, I'm going to start making these checks for them with 2 coins instead of 3. This is good for us. This last one with 3, Illyria's gonna drop the pack. Illyria's dropping the pack. Because that will at least get us to a match here. We stay just a little bit further away, but Illyria has sloughed this pack off, and the bacon keg is in danger. Now, they're only flipping with 2. We're still only 1 sprint away. Okay, here we go, 2 heads. We're 2 sprints away. It is dark.
I can't see nothing here. Just listen for them. Can you hear them?
I can hear them. They're getting further away.
Hey, listen, kids. You just bring that food back here, and we can talk about this. Where are your parents? Did you get lost? Are you with a caravan somewhere?
Their voices fade off into the distance. We just need 1 more. 2 tails. You know what? Illyria is willing to burn another energy for this. I'm not gonna burn my Igor energy. I'm burning I've burned my werewolf energy. Okay, are y'all ready? We have to meet or beat 2 tails. If we can't, we're in some trouble. Okay, I'm flipping 3 coins here. One of them, I'm burning 1, so that one's an automatic heads. Illyria's going to burn one of my expeditioneer, so I'm feeling weak. I'm hauling this bacon. I'm hauling my bacon. I gotta save my bacon. Okay, if you burn 1 and Illyria drops the bacon, we can guarantee we succeed. We guarantee we get away. But it will leave you pretty darn weak. I think it seems safer than continuing this chase, at least for me. So Illyria is going to drop the bacon, and Igor, it is up to you whether or not you wish to burn this final one and guarantee no flips. You guarantee a success. Illyria with a groan. Illyria doesn't understand it in the same way as the pack does. Wouldn't necessarily understand it as the dire sin that it is. Simply knows they are hungry, and they are loath to give up this keg full of bacon. But Illyria, as they flee into the forest, Illyria is straggling behind, and so Illyria chucks this keg behind them. They expend... They push themselves as hard as they can to flee into the forest, and as this knife sails into a tree beside them, launching far, far into the distance up in front of them, giving Illyria plenty of time to see it and to run up to the tree and dig it out from where it's lodged in. Illyria digs the Igor knife out of the tree, sticks it into their belt, and the pack disappears into the night. Everyone, thank you so very much for joining me today. If you have enjoyed today's session and you are not already doing so, go ahead and drop a follow. I would love to have you back. The better you get to know Igor, the more fun we're going to have here. Anyone who is wondering about what we are doing here today, what on earth is all this, go ahead and use the lore command at any time. That will bring you to the Lore Keeper's Tome. As a bit.ly link, Lore Keeper's Tome. That will bring you to the character sheets, which are mostly defunct for now. It seems like we're pretty well committed to using Silver Bullet, which has been working gloriously. I hope that you'll all agree, because I'm certainly feeling like it's working well for us. Had a ton of fun with it so far. I'm really thankful for you all being willing to try a system that I wrote. Yeah, Silver Bullet is fun, right? I'm really proud of this. I've written sort of little mechanics and things for other games, but I've never written a game from the ground up. Not only that, but this is a game not just from the ground up, but using, I mean, I guess you could call it a unique dice system. Technically, I suppose you could call these D2 instead of like a D4 or a D6. These are just D2, but I'm really happy with it. I think it has provided the right amount of conflict in scenes in really fun and interesting ways. And so Silver Bullet, yeah, I'm having a good time with it. Hogwarts Hippie says, I like the way we were playing before, but I'm enjoying Silver Bullet even more. I'm so glad. If you want to play Silver Bullet for yourselves, head on over to the General RPG chat channel over in our Discord. If you want to find the Discord and any of our other links, you can use the links command at any time. Linktree/sidecar stories, that is the link to follow, and that is the link to share. An announcement, I made it once before at the top of the session, but an announcement. As I've mentioned, I want to give you all a chance to dive even deeper into the realms of Residus. And how am I going to do that? Well, I want to let you join directly. We've been playing these streams, and they've been a lot of fun, but I want you to be able to get in even deeper. You all control this character of Igor together, and that's a ton of fun, but I want each of you to be able to play your own character, or potentially even characters plural. I want you to be able to do that. And so, to make that happen, I've got this project I've had backburnered for a while, and I've decided officially I'm going to open it up in 2 weeks. It's one of those, I've been waiting for the perfect time. It has not appeared, and so I'm just going to decide the time is now. In 2 weeks, on August 17th, I'm going to open up the Realms of Residus Discord. This is going to be a role-playing Discord, wherein, unlike our home Discord, right? We've got our home Sidecar Stories Garage Discord. That Discord is still going to be dedicated to what it was before. And for talking about this campaign, that is probably going to continue to be the place. But in the new spot, in the new Discord, I am going to have art for the different locations. I'm going to have different channels dedicated to different locations. You're going to be able to start threads to have sort of like have your roleplay moments there. And it is all going to be in character. It is going to be an entirely in character server, at least like 95% in character. I might have a few channels dedicated to like administrative stuff, you know, organizational stuff. But for the most part, that is going to be your place to explore the realms of Residus yourself. I'm going to be opening up for a special project on the 17th. The special project is going to be sort of like the small opening, and then the grand opening is going to be a couple of weeks after that. Maybe for book fair would be a good time for the grand opening, but we're going to do a soft opening before then. And what I want you to think about is what sort of character you would play aboard an airship. This is not an announcement of campaign 3 starting already. I promise you that is not the case. But a smaller adventure that I would love to that I want to sort of explore here. But that Discord is going to be a place where I'm going to be posting events from the world. I run these I run these little I call them faction turns, but I run them here. So there are things happening out in the world that us here in the campaign might not have any idea about. And I'm going to be posting those events and things like them over in the Discord. And not only that, but I want to run little adventures in there with parties made up entirely of our crew. Made up of entirely characters that are entirely yours. And so, if y'all are excited about this, if this sounds like fun, if you want to be able to play Silver Bullet directly in addition to playing here as Igor, go ahead and keep an eye on it. Like I said, soft opening in 2 weeks, Wednesday the 17th. So be thinking about what sort of characters you might want to play here. Of course, the soft opening, like I said, your clue is airship. So be thinking about characters related to that. But beyond that, I want you to be thinking about what sort of characters you think you would have a fun time playing just anywhere in the realms of Residus. Whether it is closer to the school, perhaps it is in the towers, maybe it's here on the frontier. Who knows what you could get up to? Only you, and I want to give you a chance to do that. So I will say this simply to you: welcome to the realms of Residus. I want to give you a formal welcome. Like I said, we've got a soft opening just to sort of test out the basics of it on the 17th. And then after that, probably for book fair, we're going to be going ahead and opening up the entirety of the realms of Residus here. We will be adding locations over time, and I will have different world events that go on in there and different adventures that we can go on together. Probably using the Silver Bullet system, maybe kind of a pared down version of it. But y'all, I'm really excited for it. I'm very, very excited for it. So I hope you are as well. That's going to be a ton of fun. To return now to where we're at here with this campaign. We've got a little bit of bookkeeping I want to keep up with. I don't think we've reached any like major milestones here that would warrant leveling up. We leveled up fairly recently. But I want to say that we're going to get a chance to to rest a little bit. I'm gonna say that we're gonna get a chance to rest. If we get interrupted, we're only gonna get a short rest, and I'll tell you how that works in just a second. If we get a long rest, if we don't get interrupted, if we fully escape them and they don't find us again, we're gonna be totally fine. We will get all of our energy back, which means you'll be fully restocked. However, if we only get a short rest, that means that what we'll have to do is sort of flip some of these coins and then figure out how much energy we get back based on that. We flip all of our missing energy, which for you is going to be 3. All the ones that come up heads is energy that you're going to get back for that short rest. So let's talk about this for a moment. If you only get a short rest, here's how much energy you're going to get back. You only get 1 back. This is just sort of future-proofing. This is just sort of like so we don't have to do it next session. But if you were to get 1 energy back, where would you want to get it? You currently have only 1 energy left, and it is in your facet relationship with Illyria. You've currently got that one maxed out. You can't put additional ones into that facet because that's already it's already full up on what you've designed it to be. And so essentially, do you want to have one out of 1 in your alchemist facet, or 1 out of 2 in your recently murdered ghost facet? Sanders saying ghost, okay. With the number of people here, I would say I want one. There we go. Hogwarts Hippie agrees. So that means that should you only get a short rest, you will have a total of 2 energy, 1 in Ghost and 1 in your relationship with Illyria. And I think that is a pretty sensible sort of. That's a sensible way to do it. I like that. That's a good call. Fantastic. If Illyria only gets a short rest, which I can't think of a reason why only one of us would get a short rest, so we're probably both going to be fine, hopefully. Okay. Out of my 2 energy, I only would get 1 back, and I think I would want that to be... I'd want to get my werewolf energy back. So I'll have 1 in Expeditioneer, 1 in Werewolf Pup, and 1 in Igor's Protector. Okay, fantastic. So we've got, that's a little bit of bookkeeping just so we don't have to do it next session if it comes up. Boy, I hope to God I remember that. Fantastic. So, the last thing to talk about here are quests and facets. Let's talk about quests for a moment. Here's something interesting that might be relevant to you, Igor. You have run off quite a distance away from that cart, right? That was going to be potentially an opportunity for you to get more clues, but it took quite a bit of running to get away from these expeditioneers. However, the expeditioneers have also run quite a ways away. Here's what I'll say. If you decided you wanted to try and like get back there in the middle of the night, if you wanted to go immediately and have a pretty solid chance of beating them back to it, although you're pretty winded, that's the trouble. You'd only be flipping with your 1 energy, and that's related to your relationship with Illyria, which I don't know that you like solving your own murder is related to that. So right now you've got 0 energy in your ghost facet. So I don't think you'd be able to flip any coins except for like basic effort. So that might be tough. You might be too tired to like really truly sprint back there, and get there before the expeditioneers get back. If you decide you want to take a short rest and hope to catch them while they're still sort of like reeling from what happened, you can accept the short rest and try to sort of like only get kind of a half rest, get a long nap in, and then try to head back. And that will leave you with, I think we said 3 energy total. Is it only 2? It might only be 2. Yeah, it's only 2. One in Murdered Ghost and 1 in your relationship with Illyria. And that just means you're still only flipping with 1, but you'd be able to do ghost stuff, and you'd be able to burn that if you needed to. You can't burn basic effort. And then finally, you could just decide, you know what, I'm going to try at least to get a full rest and hope that you have another encounter with that wagon at some point in the future. I mean, those expeditioneers, you took darn near all their food, so it's not like they're going to get out of here and just like continue on their merry way. They may have to stop for a while exactly where they're sat and hunt for a bunch of food. They may have to go back to Dawngreet potentially, but they cannot go on an expedition having been raided like they were. So something to think about related to your current quests. Oh, I don't think this command is up to date. Let me go ahead and check our quests command. Avenge your own death, make a good impression on Penelli, pursue academia, and study the history of Duskin. You are in a great position to study the history of Duskin, frankly. You are, and once again, these are like, these aren't tied to XP like they were before, but they are good ways for you to communicate to me the things that are important to you about this campaign, and so that I can try to put those things in front of you, such as, you know, like if y'all decided, like, you know what, like for instance, pursuing academia, that seems like something that sort of came up for y'all, but isn't like one of your most important things. You've had like those Dear Diary notes that have come up, and you have not mentioned those as part of your quest, and so that's a good signal to me that like, okay, it's interesting, but it's not something that that's really important to you about this campaign. And so instead of, you know, just trying to like push you toward that. Instead, I will try to continue to put stuff in this campaign related to the stuff that is super important to you, like avenging your own death, because that one comes up a lot. And so y'all let me know if you want to change any of your quests, if you want to add a quest. And keep in mind that, you know, these are things that now we can pick them up or drop them at any time. And you need not worry about like taking stress or anything like that. And then we have to talk about writing our facets. A big part of the game of Silver Bullet is before and or after every session, you can readdress your facets to see if anything about your character has changed fundamentally. Let's see. Recently Murdered Ghost. I think that one has pretty much stayed the same. Back Alley Alchemist. Yeah, I don't think you've changed anything about that facet either. And then your relationship with Illyria. This is one that I would love to get a little bit more specificity toward, but, you know, maybe we still aren't quite sure yet, in which case it's totally fine. You'll still be able to use it. It's just, you know, part of this game is adding specifics to these things so that they are more versatile. Now for Illyria, for instance, let me see if there's any changes for Illyria. For me, my current quests are to study under a lycan mentor, and I've absolutely been doing that with Chu here. Chu is a lifelong lycan. Chu was born a lycan, and so, you know, I'm learning a ton from them just about the culture of our pack. Return to Blackwater, ready to settle down. I mean, I might be a little bit closer, but frankly, I'm having too much fun out here. And pursuing expeditioneering, which I'm kind of getting some good practice in at that right now. Facet, aspiring expeditioneer. You know what? I'm gonna start to call this something a little bit different. I'm gonna change this facet from aspiring expeditioneer to self-taught expeditioneer. Because I am now doing expeditioneering stuff. Yes, I'm traveling with a pack that can handle the woods just fine, but I think Illyria is, you know, hanging stuff in trees so that it's away from raiders, like, you know, wild bears and stuff. Illyria is going to be probably the one responsible for making fires. Illyria has done this for a little while and continues to do it. Yeah, I think I'm going to change that facet. Illyria is now considered self-taught expeditioneer. Let's see. Any of my other facets changed? Werewolf Pup of the Eternal Hunger. That one still seems like the right name for that to me. And then Igor's Protector. Does that one still ring true? I think there might be... I mean, I don't know how Igor feels about it, but... Igor sort of like disappeared. It's not like Igor was visibly in danger and Illyria didn't help, but Illyria and Igor got separated there for a little bit, and Illyria sort of rushed off just like everyone else did. I don't think in the moment Illyria was super thinking about that. Is that something that bothers Igor? I think, you know, we had this thing come up earlier in this campaign that we haven't addressed a lot, but there is this moment. Hogwarts Hippie says it would bother me. I think that makes perfect sense. Yeah, Igor might be kind of bothered by this. Hogwarts Hippies also said, yeah, I think we're becoming closer, but I'm not sure in what capacity. And yeah, do you think you would be so bothered that it would change the name of this facet? Do you think it is to the point where like you're like angry enough to separate from Illyria at all? Or is it just like, no, that hurt that you did that? But yeah, there's this moment that we never really addressed very much, but Illyria is technically cursed. Illyria, as a result of dying briefly, made a deal with death, and part of that bargain was Illyria is cursed until they can make good on this, and I think that curse is coming back right now. So I'm going to go ahead and change the name of this facet to Igor's Cursed Protector. I think the fact that I sort of let my instincts get the better of me, left you behind, just ran off with the rest of this pack, I think that is kicking up this curse, and I think that might mean some things for me later in upcoming sessions. Hogwarts Hippie says, I don't think I'd be done. It would just hurt, and I'd have my guard up a little. I think that makes perfect sense, and I want to be clear. Like, this is good story right here. This is Sam. Obviously, this is not like Sam and Chat are at odds with one another. But if Igor and Illyria are a little bit, that's great story. So, I think that makes sense. Do we want to change this? Do we want to change the name of this facet to something like Hurt by Illyria? Remember, we will be readdressing this at the end of every session. So if next session I really make it up to you, we can change it back to something a little bit more friendly. But it's definitely like we have a relationship for sure. Mechanically, we're still going to be flipping that same coin that represents that the sort of effort in that relationship. But the name of it is a little bit different. I'm going to leave it like this for now, and we can talk about it later on. So, folks, I think this looks great. Our new array of facets, let's assume that we do get a full rest for these purposes, but I will let you know sort of what our current tally is at. Igor has 3 facets. You have got 2 energy in Recently Murdered Ghost. You've got 1 energy in Back Alley Alchemist, and 1 energy in Hurt by Illyria. Illyria's facets are, I've also got 3, 2 in Self-Taught Expeditioneer, 1 in Werewolf Pup of the Eternal Hunger, and 1 energy in Igor's Cursed Protector. That's where we're at, good folks. If you are watching this right now and you want a chance to kind of catch up with this campaign, go ahead and jump into the, let's see, what are we call playlists? There we go. The playlists command will bring up a special link tree dedicated specifically to all of the many links to the many places where I keep my many shows. You can find not only the tabletop RPG stuff there, but also all sorts of reading. Telltale Heart, Orient Express, Hunger Games, Percy Jackson, Harry Potter, all sorts of good stuff over there. Go ahead and follow that link if you want to learn more. And you good folks, I am really thankful for y'all being here today. This has been delightful. I am really glad that you're enjoying Silver Bullet, and if you want to play more of it, and you want to play your own character directly, well, what's the best way to do that? We should go hang out over in the realms of Residus themselves. Soft open, August 17, 2 weeks from today. I'll see you in Residus.